We're heading into the NFL offseason. That means two things: free agency and the NFL draft. What are your newest team needs for your favorite squad in the NFL? Let's do this. As we mentioned before, we're going through all your top 3 team needs of every team in the NFL. It's going to be fun. It's me and Metro today. We are running through this list and going alphabetical. Sorry for Commanders fans down there, but let's go to the very top at Arizona. And Cardinals, Metro, I'm going to let you have the floor for this one, and I can pitch in too. What are some needs for the Cardinals this year?
Yes, just top 3. I think their biggest need has got to be offensive line, specifically a tackle. I would also go running back, and my third one probably would be quarterback, depending on what they do with Kyler.
Gotcha. Completely agree. And it's also kind of an identity-shaping year. We just lost our coach in Gannon for obvious reasons. This division's super tough. What do we want our edge to be here? If you had to pick one to roll with Metro, what would you address first and fast?
Well, if I'm Mike LaFleur, the first thing I want to do is figure out who my quarterback of the future is. Am I going to give Kyler one more year, or am I going to go into the draft and look at Ty Simpson, or do I look at a Mac Jones? Something along those lines. I think quarterback is the first position that any young new head coach has to directly look at and say, who do I want my guy to be? My guess is that they're going to either retain Kyler for another year and see if he can work under the system, or maybe, I don't know, go for Mac Jones. I think that's probably the one that makes the most sense.
Totally fair. And just to list some other options for you guys, if you go to the draft, you're taking a day 2 swing or a day 3 swing, or you're taking a guy like Ty Simpson, because you're not going to have the first overall pick for Fernando Mendoza. Sorry, Cardinals fans, it's just not going to happen. And then also for free agency, these are guys we're kind of looking at, but also most of these guys get re-signed or paid way too much money. Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back, Russell Wilson, Mariota, Zach Taylor. There's a great one. Malik Willis, Joe Flacco. The list kind of falls off a cliff from there. Trey Lance, do what you want to do. The point is, not a bad year to punt on quarterback. If you want to make a play for Mac Jones, I think that makes sense. But it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and in terms of running backs, I've heard some buzz around Breece Hall. I've heard they might be going after him. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you have the number 3 pick, so Jeremiah Love is potentially in play there as well. Although I think they'll probably spend the 3 pick on a tackle to fix the other need with like a Fano or Francis. So some options there for sure, and they should have some cap space to work with. So I expect the Cardinals to be able to address these needs pretty easily.
Do you see the Cardinals, real quick, do you see the Cardinals making an impact on quarterback in free agency before we head into the draft, or do you think they're just going to wait on ice until we hit the draft?
It'll either be Kyler next year, unless a team just, I don't know, gives you a first or second round pick for Kyler. I think they'll rock with Kyler for one more year. Or they'll go for Trinidad Chambliss in round 2, because I don't think they're going to make a move for Ty Simpson unless Simpson falls to round 2, which would be unexpected to say the least.
Totally agree. Cool. Let's go to our next team in the Atlanta Falcons. Top 3 needs, I'll give 1 or 2, then you give me some, Metro. I think wide receiver 2 is a big piece of need, and I'd also lean into DB/cornerback.
Yeah, I'm going to assume they bring back Pitts, although I could be wrong. Who knows? I think a interior defensive lineman, a difference maker, and honestly, maybe an edge rusher. Risky subject here. James Pierce Jr. I think we should avoid that one, though.
Yeah, let's move forward.
Yeah, we'll move forward. But no, wide receiver 2, they don't need a 1. That's the good news. They have their 1 in Drake London. They don't have their first-round pick. The good news for them is that if they do wait till round 2, there's a lot of good options, right? Omar Cooper makes a lot of sense. Jeremy Bernard makes a ton of sense. Skylar Bell is like a day 3, maybe a late day 2 option. Like, there's a lot of different options out there. So I think wide receivers should be a pretty easy fix for this team, because Darnell Mooney was just not that good last year. He had a really disappointing year, and you need somebody opposite of Drake London to, number 1, give your young quarterback some legitimate weapons to work with. And I think there's a lot of options in the draft to go forward with that. And in terms of DBs, is it Reek Woolen? Really? That's like the only one I could think of. Josh Jobe and Reek Woolen, really.
Let me double check.
Unless maybe like Rasul Douglas.
Trayvon Diggs getting paid $19 million.
No. Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm kidding. You could say Jimmy Ward, Meek Robertson, maybe like a depth play.
I wonder if maybe they'll try and pitch a move for Denzel Ward from Cleveland. Cleveland has some finance issues they got to figure out. I wonder if maybe they'd be willing to get off a middle-aged player and maybe get something in value back for him. I wonder if they'll make a play for Denzel. Just kind of throwing that one out there. Interior defensive line's tough because there's not they're like unks, like legitimate unks in the free agent market for interior defensive linemen. The one that is interesting would be like a John Franklin Myers. He is 30, but he gives you some real juice in the interior. If not, I think you can spend a day 3 pick on like a Dante Corleone type of guy. So just some names to throw at you.
Totally. One last thing for the Falcons. All their biggest needs have a ton of depth in this year's draft. So kind of a great place to be. Wide receivers like the one position on offense that's really strong, and then the whole defensive position is pretty strong this year. So like this outlook of the offseason for the Falcons. Next, we got the Baltimore Ravens. Culture reset here too, man. Fired head coach, bringing in a new face in Mr. Minter, and I think he's going to lean heavily into the defense for those top needs. I'm going to say just D-line in general, and then probably edge, but what do you think?
Yeah, D-line in general. I think another receiver and a right guard to replace Falele. Defensive line to me is very much dependent on Matabike because he had that neck injury that we've heard good and bad things on. Even if it is good and he's able to go, neck injuries are a tough business to deal with, right? So if you take him off this team, that defensive line needs multiple players, and they need Mike Green to take a big step forward next year. He was a second-round pick for them. We liked him a lot in last year's class. He had a very bad rookie year. Even more shockingly, with how much usage he was used, like they used him a lot, and he was just kind of a nothing burger. So I think defensive line is fascinating. I think they should spend it in the draft, either interior or both, honestly. You know, get some younger guys there, hope for Matabike to get back healthy, and hope that Mike Green takes a step forward. I think that's the big deal for them. What do you think about a receiver option in free agency?
Oh, well.
I have one name that I think would be really fun for this team.
Hit me. Take it away. I want to hear your thoughts.
I think Jawan Jennings makes a lot of sense for this team.
Ooh, yeah, it does.
His personality, I think, would work so well with Lamar. I think he's such a competitor. Him and Zay Flowers, I think that would make for a really interesting duo. Now, he's going to cost you about $20 million a year, but if you have the extra cap, I think run that guy in. Or maybe you make a move for like a this is going to piss off some Ravens fans because it feels like DeAndre Hopkins 2.0, but like Keenan Allen for a year.
I get
kind
it.
of a stopgap, wide receiver 3, reliable, gets open. He's either going to retire or go to LA again. That's what I think about him, though.
Yeah, you're probably right. Do you think there's a world where they take Denzel Boston, the big wide receiver, a little bit too early? Not early, I don't want to say that, but like at 14, higher than most he says he's going to go.
It is 100% in play. I think it all depends on how the board goes. If they end up being, I think they're the 14th pick, if Bain is off the board, Reese is off the board, Styles is off the board, and some of those interior guys, and David Bailey, you're going to have a tough pick there. I don't think you're taking Cassius Howell at 14, right? I don't think you're taking maybe TJ Parker. I could kind of see that a little bit, but I think Denzel Boston would be cool.
Yeah.
Falk is a tough one for me.
Exactly. That's the point, right? Like I feel better about Boston than Falk.
I do too. I think it would come down to a conversation between like TJ Parker and Denzel Boston and maybe like a Caleb Banks if he's still available, which
hell yeah.
Hey, Banks, he won me over at the Senior Bowl, so I'm not too mad about that one.
Let's go. Okay, good stuff for the Ravens. Point is, they got a lot of options with that 14th pick and free agency. Buffalo Bills next up. I got kind of a hot take here, so I'm going to let you take the lead. I'm just going to come out and say I don't think wide receiver is the biggest need this year, which every Bills fans will crucify me for. And then I'll say linebacker and edge for my positions.
You just love rage baiting Bills fans, don't you?
It's easy.
It really is. Just don't take Denzel Boston and you're going to get to them.
What?
I think edge rusher, specifically somebody who's stout against the run. Like if Keldrick Falk makes it to them, I actually think that's not a bad fit for this team.
Same.
I think receiver is a big-time need. I like Shakir. I like Gabe Davis as like a third or fourth option. Keon Coleman has had a tough year. Let's just put it that way. I think linebacker is also a big-time need. And I'll just kind of throw maybe like a DB in there as well, just for get a little younger in that room. But I think if you're looking at their big three, receiver, defensive edge, and linebacker for sure. In terms of like who you want Denzel Boston probably. That's the guy. Him or Chris Bell, to me. Chris Bell is, we'll see what the ACL injury looks like, when he's going to be able to return. He might be able to be back by week 1 because it happened in November. That would be 7 months, 8 months. So if you're pushing it, he's a young dude. Young people, they got magical powers. Maybe Chris Bell has the powers, but I would love to see them spend a top pick on a receiver, invest in that receiving core because, Khalil Shakir can only do so much. They need an explosive playmaker next to him, and I don't think you're going to find that in free agency unless you could somehow pull a George Pickens move off, which it's not going to happen. Which, by the way, the Bills should have made a trade for him last offseason. The Bills should have been all over George Pickens in a trade with Pittsburgh. I would have given up my number 1 for him if I was Buffalo, but my Cowboys got the job done. Thankfully, they
did. And when you say it like that, I think my answer is more of the best player available. If that happens to be KC or Denzel Boston, then so be it. They're fantastic players. But also this team was 5th in scoring, 5th in yards, not offense, but 5th in yards for rushing and passing. They clearly don't have an offense problem, but they could definitely upgrade that defense. So that's why I just kind of digress the wide receiver conversation. But definitely could help our man Josh Allen. Any final thoughts?
Linebackers actually pretty fun to think about. It's a good linebacker class.
It is.
You're going to be in a prime spot to take one of Golday, Anthony Hill, who's my guy from Missouri? Josiah Trotter. And CJ Allen. And there's some pretty fun ones in free agency. Quay Walker is going to be a hot commodity from Green Bay. I think he'd be a really good and fun fit for this team. Devin Lloyd from Jacksonville. Really good player. So there's a lot of really good linebacker options this year, and I would expect them to try and pull off at least one of them to give them a stout linebacker who can flow over the top, create havoc, because they just don't have those guys right now.
Totally. Let's go forward to the Carolina Panthers, who are looking at edge, D-line, and what else do you think, Metro?
Man, maybe a slot receiver I think is definitely a need. Their tackle, what did he tear? Was it a pec? I think one of their tackles had a bad injury, so maybe a tackle, but Ike Ekwonu is who I'm talking about. I think it was a pectoral injury. Don't quote me on that, but so maybe a tackle. But you do have Yash Nijman, who you feel okay with, so I'll say a slot receiver just to be a bit more fun.
Okay.
And what'd you say again? You said edge and linebacker?
Yeah, edge and D-line.
Yeah, those are linebacker and edge rusher. They have to find a dude who can get after the quarterback. DJ Wanham was disappointing. You have Nick Scorton. You have Prince Mielen. I think if you can add another go-to pass rusher, run it in.
I feel like where they sit at 19 in the draft, of course you could do free agency things. We can't predict that shit. But at 19 in the draft, there's a clear drop-off after David Bailey. And then it's kind of a mix for edge rusher around Falk, Howell, TJ Parker, Akeem Mesidor, and the list goes on. I feel like you feel better getting a stout interior D lineman. We already have that, of course, in Derek, but I just like the depth there more, potentially. I think the right pick there for them is going to be TJ Parker. But what do you think? I think that makes some sense.
They have options. If Mekhi Lemon falls to them, I know 3 straight receivers, thumbs up.
Let's run it. Why not?
Yeah, if 3 straight receivers, if Mekhi's there, I would consider that heavily. If not, I think Caleb Banks, I think Peter Woods. I like the idea of TJ Parker. I can stomach Cassius Howell here. I'm not the biggest on Cassius, but one thing you cannot say about Cassius, that dude can get after the quarterback. That's the one thing you can say about him. So maybe you consider him there a little bit as well. So they have some options, and linebacker they should be fine because again there is options in free agency. Again, Quincy Williams. Maybe you go for like a Caden Ellis, a Devin Lloyd, a Quay Walker. There's a handful of options you feel good. Nakobe Dean, by the way, he's going to get paid. So some good linebackers in free agency. So I think they're going to have some real solid options to fix that room.
Good conversation. Let's go to the Chicago Bears. Metro, for me, it's pretty clean, cut, and dry. If the Bears had a strong front seven, I think they damn near win the Super Bowl this year. So that will be their objective going forward. We got the offense rolling just fine. Can we get D-line, edge, and linebacker in order? But what do you think?
I think that's really their big three: interior D-line, edge rusher, and linebacker. I'll throw safety in the mix as well. They have some safeties who are free agents, Brisker and Byard. And even if you do bring them back, Byard is 32, going to be 33 next year. Maybe you want to give a bit more depth to that room with a young body, but I think it's a good safety class. You can get one on day 3 who could be a starter for you. So edge rusher to me is the big one, though. You got to find someone next to Montez Sweat. You spent big for Dayo Odeyingbo. Yikes. Did not really work out. He had a bad injury, and even when he was out there, he didn't do a ton for you. I love Akeem Mesidor for this team. I think if Mesidor's there, oof, run that pick in. Him, Peter Woods if he falls, Caleb Banks if he falls, Caden McDonald, oof, that'd be nice if he falls. And if you don't like the D-line board, C.J. Allen, Anthony Hill, Jake Galday. Like, they're in a good spot. They don't have to be too aggressive in free agency, in my opinion.
They really are. They like some teams when they go ring hunting, like that's what you want to do. You want to win games. But when you go to the playoffs, you kind of miss out on the talent. Luckily for them, for their need, it's going to fall right in their lap regardless. So they got a really good spot in the draft.
I'm intrigued to see what they do with their receiving core because I don't think Odunze and DJ Moore are safe. I think that they are potential trade candidates because Odunze has had flashes, but he hasn't really put it all together. And then with the way the season ended with DJ Moore, I could see him definitely being traded. So I'd be interested to see if maybe they can pick up some extra draft capital to fix up this defense by trading away one of their receivers. Because Burden looks good. You obviously have Rome. You have Colston Loveland. There's some options there. And we know that the Bears offense doesn't need 4 good wide receivers. They need like 2 maybe.
Metro. I have the idea. You ready? Can I pitch it to you?
Is it Buffalo?
Don't read my mind. Buffalo Bills send 26 or a second or a third. I don't know what the hell they send, but the point is they send some picks. Bears send DJ Moore. Who says no?
Or the 26th pick for Rome Odunze. Oof. Think the Bears do it?
I think it's harder when it's a guy on a rookie contract. That's more expensive.
For sure. If you're trading DJ Moore to them, they'd maybe give up like a 4th, probably. I
don't know what they give up, to be honest, but it would be a sweet landing spot, though. I think we're in line there.
Yeah, no, I mean, those 2 teams should be on the phone for the next 6 months. Just try to figure it out. Like those
taking
2 teams
phone calls in Cabo,
out.
Getting dinner in Cabo, man.
Yes.
They'll figure something out for sure.
The Bills need to pull a Nico Harrison. If you're an NBA fan, you know.
If you know, you know, baby. Let's go to the not hopeless, but forever faithful Cincinnati Bengals. Defense? Anything with a pulse on that side of the ball? Metro, what say you?
There's pulse. There's some life. I think guard. We'll just kind of interior offensive line. All 3 of them, guard and center. We'll just make that one position, so we're not cheap here. I think edge rusher. We'll be silly here. Interior offensive line, defensive line, safety. I think those are big needs. But I will say, I think edge is getting better. Osai had a good year. You're hoping Shamar Stewart takes a big step forward. And Murphy kind of showed a little life towards the end. So maybe you can just bring in like a vet to add to that room and you feel okay about your edge rushers. Interior defensive line is fascinating. Banks, Peter Woods, Caden McDonald, they're all probably going to be on the board for you at, is it 10? I think they have. So I would expect them to spend money on a either offensive lineman or a defensive lineman in the draft. And then safety you can get on round 3 to day 3.
I think in the weirdest, this is not going to make sense, but it does to me. You took Shamar Stewart last year, only had 1 sack. We knew he was a project, so not too surprising. But if we're going to make him work, we need to not make him the one on this defense. We got to surround him with talent so he can get in one-on-one scenarios and cause pressure. So I am all for doubling down on first-round picks on the D-line. That's just my thoughts.
Any chance they trade Burrow?
No, he's going to retire
If I'm Minnesota, I'm offering 6 first-round picks for Burrow. I'm offering everything for Burrow. I don't even care. I would trade 10 first-round picks for Burrow and Jamar Chase. We're recreating 2019 LSU, buddy. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. How far can you send first-round picks out? Is it 3 years? Is that the rule in the NFL? In the NBA, it's like there's no laws in the NBA.
If I can do, I would pull was it Herschel Walker with Minnesota and the Cowboys, trading a whole draft class? Or no, that was Ricky Williams, wasn't it? I'm doing that.
Ricky,
I'm trading
yeah.
an entire draft class for Joe Burrow. I don't care. It'd be silly probably, but probably not. Joe Burrow is that good. I'm trading J.J. McCarthy, 2 firsts and like 2 seconds for Joe Burrow. And Bengals reset the quarterback room, get a bit younger, build a good roster. Saying could be a win-win.
Just saying, Bengals fans. They're like, shut the hell up. I get it,
Yeah,
though.
they're ridiculous.
Please stop talking. Let's go to the Cleveland Browns, another awesome team in the NFL.
This
For
one's
them, yeah, this one's cake.
All offense.
O-line, yeah. Everywhere, across
quarterback,
the board.
receiver, O-line. That's it. Big 3.
A priest. They need something to save this team. We can figure it out. When it comes to options for quarterback,
I think they'll just rock with Shador. That's my guess.
I agree. So let's build the O-line. In the O-line room, we could get a guy like, I don't know if you let him get out the door for the Ravens, but I think Tyler Linderbaum makes a lot of sense. Connor McGovern would be sick. Yeah, there you go. Todd Monken, see? It's on the move.
I'll throw Jermaine Illuminor and where's he at? Rasheed Walker, the Packers tackle. The issue is the Browns don't have a ton of money because they're still paying Deshaun Watson.
Dude, this is the most
freaking morons.
How's that guy have a job?
Beats me, man. And you know what's tough too is they have to keep restructuring his deal to open up any sort of sliver of cap space, and so they're just delaying the inevitable. It's brutal, man. Like I think when me and B-Ross did their rebuild, we're sitting there just looking at how to make this team functional, and we're like, we spent like an hour before we recorded just sort of saying, there's nothing we can do. We just have to tank. I think we just gave up and did a different team because it was brutal, man. The good news is that there's options, but you're going to be building through the draft. And you have 2 first-round picks. So rebuild the offensive line, get a receiver, like rock with Shador, man. Let Shador get a full year under Monken. That's my best bet.
Pro Bowl quarterback? Let's ride. Let's see it happen. I think the only reason Andrew Berry is still employed is because they took a long look in the mirror and said, what good candidate's going to come here with this kind of cap situation, with this kind of quarterback situation? So, you know what? I respect it. Ride or die, Andrew Berry, Cleveland Browns, spilled no line. So when this quarterback does roll up, whether it's a Pro Bowl quarterback, Shador Sanders or not, we're ready to go. Ooh, Metro, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys. Tell me about your team. What do you need?
It's simple. I think it's corner, safety. Ooh, which one's bigger, linebacker or edge? I'll go linebacker. Corner, safety, linebacker. You bring in Christian Parker to be your DC. He is going to want to build the secondary up. I mean, when he went to Philadelphia, he had Cooper DeJean, he had Quinyon Mitchell, he had Reed Blankenship. He has so much depth and options there. I think that's going to be the first thing he tries to do is try to get improvements in the back end. The home run hit is Caleb Downs. He just does so much of the dirty work, and he would be the perfect fit for what this team needs. I mean, I've said it in past podcasts. If they draft Caleb Downs, you will see me streaking outside. You will see me shirt off, throwing it in the wind, running around, yelling, "We got Caleb Downs," like I'm Paul Revere, telling the British are coming. That's what I'm doing, man. If Caleb Downs a Cowboy, I'm freaking out. But no, other needs. They got to get a linebacker, somebody to pair with DeMarvin Overshown. It's a good linebacker class. You have 2 first-round picks. I think you spend on there, or you go after like a Quay Walker and Quincy Williams, maybe. I mean, Quincy, going back with his brother, so I can see that one happening. And corner, I think Deron Bland and Savon Ravel will be your starters next year. In what position? I think Bland is best when you kick him inside. I think he's just really good in tight spaces. He can be a bit more aggressive. I like the idea of pairing, if you can't get Downs, a Jermod McCoy or Mansour Delane. I won't be streaking, but I'll be happy at least.
I mean, you said it all. I'm ready to move forward if you are. You cooked.
Let's roll. Yeah, let's roll.
Cool. Denver Broncos are next up. A couple of things here. This team's really complete, man. Like, I'm picking at straws here. You could argue an extra tight end in Payton's system always does well. An inside linebacker. What do you think?
Yeah, linebacker, I think it's tough. This team doesn't have a ton of needs. Tight end? Did you say tight end?
Yeah. Best player available in general?
That might be it. Tight end, good. Linebacker. Don't they have a center issue going on? Maybe a quarterback. Bo Nix is pissed off at his head coach. Maybe
Let's get Ty in here. That was fast.
Yeah, I think if you lose John Franklin Myers, maybe an interior defensive lineman, maybe Keldrick Falk would be great for this team. So just throw those ones at you. I think there's such a well put together roster that at this point you're just trying to replace who you might lose in free agency. Tight end is a clear need. Like if you can get Kenyon Sadiq, run it in. If you can get David Njoku, if you can make a trade for Jawan Johnson, run that too. So Denver has some good options for tight ends, and they got 2 linebackers hitting free agency. So I think in an ideal world, you could find a way to replace those guys. But again, it's a good linebacker class. C.J. Allen, Jake Galladay, Anthony Hill, and a good free agent class too.
Yeah, Denver's going to be just fine, man. They're going to get some great players. Sadiq falls to them. Might be a fun pick. Really fun pick.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the Detroit Motor City Kitties. We got tackle at left tackle specifically, or either or, wherever Penne can choose not to play. Edge to help out our man Hutch. A cornerback that can stay healthy for 5 snaps. And, of course, man, a center would be awesome. A center would bring this entire line back to equilibrium. If we can get a guy like Tyler, Connor McGovern, even Cade Mays, I'm feeling much better about this team. But, Metro, what is your non-biased perspective?
I think you want to get back to being who you are on the offensive line. Offensive line was okay last year. It could be a lot better. I think you draft one of the top tackles or a center, and then I think you focus on just trying to stay healthy defensively. Like, there's only so much you can do. Sometimes it's just all a matter of can we put it all together for a year and be healthy. I think this Lions team is they're in a good spot, but also a spot that is scary if you think about it, because they have so many massive contracts.
Yes.
And they're going to have to pay these guys. And if you can't win a championship with all that money invested into your team, there's going to be some looking around in that coaching staff trying to point the finger, and that's a tough spot. This is a big year for them because they have a lot of guys they got to pay.
You're totally right. This is a make-or-break year for the Lions. That sounds really dumb, but we got to get back in the playoffs and start hunting for sure. Let's go to...
I don't disagree.
Approved. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Packers could use a corner on the corner of Starbucks and a gas station. They could use anything out there in the secondary, specifically a corner. But what do you think, Metro?
Corner, maybe another pass rusher next to Micah, especially if you get off Rashawn Gary. He was pretty bad this year. And interior defensive line. If you lose Rasheed Walker, I mean, they've invested a lot into the offensive line these past few years, so I think you should have some in-home answers. So I'm not too concerned about that. You know, offensively, you're going to probably promote Matthew Golden to be your second or third option, so you're good there. Jordan Love, you're good there. I think getting somebody who can pair up with Micah Parsons would be ideal. They don't have their first-round pick. The good news is they can get like a Zion Young or Derek Moore or somebody along those lines. I like those options. Interior defensive line, again, Lee Hunter, I think would be great for this team. So they're going to do most of their work in the draft just without a first-round pick. And I think they'll try to maybe poach a corner in the free agent market. Who? I don't know. Jamel Dean, maybe?
Taylor, Dean, Watson, Nashawn Wright. But he's a Bear. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. I could see
happened before.
Taylor.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Johnson, yeah. I could see Alontae Taylor.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get somebody into the market. If they can pull Jamel Dean from Tampa Bay, I think that'd be a nice pickup for them.
I think so too. Good stuff. Let's go to the Houston Texans. They could use tackle. They could use interior line. They could use defensive line. They need to build back up those trenches. The defense is an absolute force to be reckoned with, but on offense we got a lot of holes. Metro, anything else I missed?
Maybe a running back. I think interior offensive line, because you have Ariante Ursary, who was okay at left tackle. Ed Ingram's a free agent. I think you're going to bring him back. I wonder if they're going to be thinking about kicking Ursary back to inside. Regardless of how they figure it out, they need to have an offseason to fix that offensive line. And they need 2 or 3 starters there. That unit cannot be bad again. They have to do a Ben Johnson Chicago where they rework that unit. I think defensive line is more of like a depth thing. If you can find an interior defensive lineman on day 2, and that's great. Edge, you have Daniil Hunter, you have Will Anderson. You're good there, but depth behind them, maybe you want to find another one. And then running back, if you can get Jonah Coleman in round 3, I think they would like that pick a lot.
Totally. Talk about make or break year. Stroud, not on contract. This would be big, right?
I never thought I would say this after that rookie year he had, but yeah, it's the way he performed later in the season, and especially in the playoffs, that can't happen again. If he has a rough year, man, Houston's going to have a tough conversation. And I don't even want to be in the room at that point. That's a good football team. That's just they got to get better quarterback play. So a lot of it's going to be on C.J. Stroud.
Quick question. Argument to get it done, argument to get it not done, because you're either going to owe him a boatload of money or you're going to make one of the worst investments you ever did. So do you think it's going to get done this offseason or no?
No shot. I would not pay him
shot.
right now. I would steer away from that one until he proves to us he can be the guy, which he did in his rookie year, and then since then it's been mediocre at best. So I would not pay him. I would wait at least one more year to see what he can do next year.
Sounds good.
Which might end up costing you more money, by the way, but that's the NFL. That's life.
It's better than a 4-year contract. Let's go to the Indianapolis Colts. Talk about falling off a cliff, man. This team was on cloud 9, made a big-time trade, and now we sit here, linebacker, our quarterback who was having a phenomenal year. Daniel Jones might not even be here this year. Edge, anything else I'm missing that's big for this team?
For the Colts?
Yeah, for the Colts.
Quarterback?
This is our Colts. This is our team.
No, come on. We don't bleed blue. Come on. It's got to be quarterback, right? That's the biggest need, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So quarterback, edge, another one maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe linebacker / safety, something like that. But biggest one is quarterback. You're going to more than likely bring back Daniel Jones, which that's tough, man. I would give him a 1-year deal. I don't think you give him a long-term deal, which sucks for Daniel Jones. He was working his way into a long-term deal worth lots of money, like 3 years, 90. You're looking at a 1-year, $10 to $15 million deal now. Well, maybe not. I don't know, but
I think
he played so well. Who?
Your market is what your value is what the market gives you. I think there's going to be some team that sees what just happened with a guy like Sam Darnold and lets that risk happen, and he's going to go 3 years or nothing.
Oof, man, I would be so timid to do that if I was GM. 1 year, then he tore his Achilles. That would be risky for me. That would be risky for me. But no, I mean, look, that's the question they're gonna have to answer. You know, do you roll with Richardson? Do you roll with Trinidad Chambliss? If you pick him up, do you go for a vet, or do you just rock with Daniel Jones and hope he gets healthy at some point? But outside of that, I mean, if you can get more juice on the defense, yeah, I definitely think you should think about it.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, we'll let it ride. Jacksonville Jaguars, they're on our clock. And who do they need? They need D-line. They need interior O-line. But overall, this team's not horrible. What else do you think is a hole for this team?
Nah, man, they don't really have a ton of needs. They have a couple free agents they have to worry about. Maybe interior defensive line. That was one of their bigger needs last year that they didn't really address a ton. So maybe that. Maybe if you lose Devin Lloyd, you're going to need a linebacker. So we'll just say that. But I think they'll bring him back. And then maybe some more offensive line help. But they don't really have a ton of issues. This is just a really well-rounded roster. They don't have their first-round pick. I'm really intrigued to see what they do with Travis Hunter and what his role is going to be for this team. So that's the big one right there. But, yeah, not a ton of needs for this team. Like, they're just really well put together, and you're going to spend a day 2 pick on – I would love Lee Hunter for this team. I also think, like, Skylar Gill-Howard, like, round 4 or 5, I wouldn't mind that as well. So those are some names to think at. I like Lee Hunter a lot in that spot. But Lee Hunter might also be a day 1 pick. That's how good he was at the Senior Bowl. So throwing that out there. But they will not have to be that aggressive in the offseason because they're a good roster. Just maybe some slight upgrades here and there and see what Travis Hunter can do for you next year.
Totally fair. Let's go to a team that, honestly, their roster is a damn mess. The KC Chiefs have a ton of holes in this team, a lot of aging contracts, a lot of questions all around. Honestly, running back makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, we've learned it's a luxury position. Why would you take, I get it, Love's sick. Why are you going to take Love at 9 when you have all these other holes in your team? It's a fun landing spot, but running back's one, you could say edge, but what else do you think, Metro?
Yeah, I like it. I like their offense I like their offense. I think it's at its best when they run the football effectively. I think if they can run the football effectively, that would be ideal. I think a right tackle, man, there's a lot of needs of this football team, man. they're negative $50 million in cap space too. It's a tough spot. You got Kelsey's contract up. You got Mahomes' injury. Oof, it's tough just to pick three. If I would pick their three biggest, I would go edge rusher, interior defensive line, and running back. I think those would be my big three. Receiver, obviously, we'll see what happens with Rashee Rice this offseason. If you could find a big body guy, I would like it. Like, I think Surratt on round 3 would be cool. I think that'd be a good pickup for them. Chris Bell, depending on the injury stuff. So those are some names. But running back, Jeremiah Love, Javonte Williams. You can go back to the Breece Hall conversation. There's some options there. Defensive line, I feel like I'm kind of repeating the same names here. If Bailey, Bain, or Arvell fall to you, you take one of those three. If not, I think maybe you start to think about Peter Woods or Caleb Banks a little bit. I think that would be kind of where the next kind of conversation point goes, or maybe just take Jeremiah Love. So the good news is that their 10th pick, or is it 9? I think they're 9th actually.
Yeah, they're 9.
So if you're at 9, you're going to have some options available to you. But I don't know what they're going to be able to do in free agency. I don't think it'll be a ton. They're kind of handicapped, and they have some pretty big contracts they got to worry about.
I agree with you, man. You're going to see a pretty quiet free agency and a lot of draft work, maybe even trading back to get a ton of cheap contracts. Who knows? We'll find out. Out of there, partner. You must be enjoying the content. If you are, go subscribe down below. Welcome to the family. Look forward to seeing you on more videos going forward. Let's get back into this video right now. Let's go to the Raiders. They stand here. Needs quarterback. Fernando, welcome to Las Vegas. He's going to go there. We need to get him a wide receiver to throw to, a tackle. Work to be done. Anything else for this team or anything you want to emphasize, Metro?
I'll skip past quarterback because they already have their guy. They're just going to have to wait a few months to get him. So they already have a quarterback. They're just waiting. Receiver, offensive line, and I'd probably go corner. I'll be honest with you. Outside of tight end and running back, I don't think there's a position they have 100% maxed out. I think they could use everything, basically. That's why I've been an advocate for them trading Max Crosby. I'm like, yeah, Max is a great player. He wants to be a Raider for life. He would get you 2 first-round picks, though. And you can get one this year and next year's class is really good, and you can start to fill these holes that they have not been able to fill. The good news is they do have $100 million to work with. They have a good quarterback, potentially, in Fernando. I like their head coach hire. But they got some work to do, right? Receiver, I love the idea of pairing Fernando with an Omar Cooper or a Surratt. I think if you can get him as teammate, kind of give him somebody to rely on, I would like that for the team. They need a linebacker, too. This is a tough team, man. There's not a position they can't look at. Rasheed Walker, kick him in the right, maybe. And, you have Colton Miller, who can play. Actually, Colton Miller, your right tackle, then Rasheed can be your left. So, yeah, maybe that's a name to look at, too. It's not a fun spot, but there's some hope at least.
Luckily, they got money. They're second in cap. I think they're going to be – they'll put this team on a brief intermission, and they won't be horrible next year just because what they can spend, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you get your quarterback of the future, you lock him down, you're good there. You got your quarterback, you have your head coach, you have Bowers and Genty. If you keep Max, you're okay. But you have to start to fill that roster out. My number one priority, though, would be to fix that offense. And then this is what I would do. I would spend money on defense, and I would invest draft capital on my offense. Or maybe actually vice versa. No, I'll do vice versa, I think. I think I would invest money in my offense and invest capital outside of round 1 on my defense. Of course, you'll spend some money on defense, too, but prioritize fixing the offensive line and getting him a receiver.
I have never thought of this before until now, and that shows how much I think. But I think Pickens to this team makes so much sense. They got so much money.
Stay away.
He would look
Stay away.
He looks awesome in a Raiders uniform. Mendoza would love him. He's a great back shoulder kind of player.
No.
The Cowboys can't afford him. That's the only problem.
That we will afford him. I don't care if I got to pay him. I'll
You're going to sell the Rangers and then keep around Pickens?
Well, we don't need the Mavericks. They traded away Luka. We're good now. We don't need them.
They're trying to go to Vegas anyways. No, they've ruined the Mavericks. How dare they?
Yeah. Look, we're going to restructure Dak, restructure CD. We'll do what we got to do. We'll bring him back. By the way, did you hear a rumor that they might franchise and trade him?
Who?
This team's not serious. The Cowboys.
Talk about Pickens.
Yeah. Like, serious. They're going to franchise him and then trade him. Potentially. It's like a little bit of a rumor right now. Yikes,
Horrible.
man. This team is not a serious franchise.
Well, we know that. Let's go forward to let's go to the LA Chargers. Chargers this year had a lot of injuries in interior D-line and interior O-line, and of course tackle. Honestly, their whole O-line was on the IR this year. It was really, really bad. So let's add some depth to that room. That would be my number one position in need. Whoever's at 22, who makes the most sense, let's take for the O-line and go from there. But what do you think, Metro? Because there's also a lot of good D-line depth there, too.
Yeah, O-line, defensive line, maybe a RB2, maybe. I don't think it's their biggest need, but you do have Najee Harris leaving the team. He's gone. You have Hampton, who's your RB1. Maybe you want to find him, somebody with some juice to pair up with him.
Damon Claiborne?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that pick a lot. Claiborne, Jamari Taylor from Virginia. I like that one a lot. But you might also be able to wait for next year. Like a Hollywood Smothers on this team would be great, but just kind of a sneaky one. But, yeah, you're not kidding. Interior offensive line has to be better this year. You got your tackles. You just need them to stay healthy. Go get you some interior offensive linemen. Vivek Ione, Connor Liu, Jake Slaughter, Caden Proctor inside maybe. I think that checks some boxes. And you have Adafe Owe. You have Tuli Tuipulotu, but maybe finding some more bodies on the defensive line. So just some options for them. The good news is by the way, they have a ton of money to work with. They got to pay some guys, but they have a ton of money to work with. And not a lot of needs. So they can afford to kind of swing big on some major upgrades. This is one of the few teams that, they have a shit ton of money, and they're a good football team with a high-paying quarterback, too. It's weird. Usually the teams that have these rich quarterbacks aren't in, cap good situations. This Chargers team really is. They've done a great job of drafting and building a good roster. They can fix their issues pretty quickly if they have a good offseason.
And cherry on top, I know they're in California, so taxes and stuff like that. But you talk about a very attractive destination for free agents.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Beautiful in LA. Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, very stable. You know what you're getting, a player's coach. And your quarterback's damn good. You can say whatever you want about Herbert. He's at least getting it in a lot of games and putting you in that scenario. So a lot of good things to like for this team. You can get guys on better deals than sending them to, I don't know, who's some team in the north that's cold as piss and no one wants to go to. Like Detroit back in the day before they got good.
Well, actually, Minnesota's pretty cool with Kevin O'Connell.
They are. You're right. Like the Bengals or the Browns. You get my point.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, the Browns. That's the one. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Let's go
modern day Pittsburgh.
That's actually hard to think about. Yeah, modern day Pittsburgh is a great scenario. Next team, L.A. Rams, baby. Corner.
Could have been Super Bowl champions, man. Could have been.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Cornerback.
Corners
wide receiver.
need 1, 2, and 3 if we're being honest. That's their biggest need.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
Trade back. Just take a bunch of them.
Well, they have 2 first-round picks. So they don't really have to.
I'm so damn stupid. You're right. They do.
Yeah. This is a good team, man. Quarterback, long-term plan. Corner, biggest need. I still think tackle is an option for them. You feel good about McClendon, but he's had one good year. So maybe spending a day 2 pick on a swing tackle who might start for you depending on what he looks like can never go wrong. Plus, Alaric Jackson has had some injury things you might want to take a peek at. So, look, I think you bring in 2 to 3 new corners. I think you draft 1 or 2. I think you bring 1 in free agency. I think you rebuild that room so that way JSN doesn't go off for 150 against you again.
What if they replay how they won their last Super Bowl when they got a cornerback in Ramsey? What if you send away one of those first-round picks for, it's not going to happen, but, a player with the impact of a Gonzalez, a lockdown CB1, and let it ride? Think that's dumb? Think it's not? What do you think?
You're not getting Christian Gonzalez, but if you can pull off, who would be an option? Denzel Ward, we talked about that a bit earlier. I think that makes some sense. I don't know. I can't think of anyone. It'd have to be somebody who's who's still in their prime, middle of their career, but is on a bad football team that may be willing to want to get rid of them. So there'd be some options out there for sure. Or you just look at free agency or look in the draft. Again, you have 2 first-round picks, so they're in a good spot.
Good stuff. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins, and in my humble opinion, best player on the board. I don't give a rat's ass. We were in a full identity crisis. We need to build this team from the studs. I don't see us doing anything for the next year or two for sure. By anything, I mean win a Super Bowl. So I think you just take the best player on the board and let that continue over the next year.
I think they have some positions okay right now. You feel okay about your offensive tackles. You are hopeful about your interior defensive line because you've invested into that a little bit. I think you're okay at linebacker too. Safety, you have Minkah Fitzpatrick. I would go quarterback. It's not going to be Tua. I think you just rock with Quinn Ewers or maybe bring in Malik Willis. I think those are probably going to be one of your two quarterbacks. Wide receiver next to Jalen Waddle, big time need, and probably a corner. Like you need 2-3 corners. I mean, they have a lot of corners hitting free agency, and they were okay last year in the secondary. They were able to bring in some guys, but you're going to have to re-sign some guys or bring in some new guys. And the good news is you have a top 15 pick that you can spend a top pick on a Mansour Delane, a Caleb Downs, Jeremiah McCoy maybe. So they have some options, but receiver's the fascinating one for me because I don't think you're spending your 11th pick on a receiver. So like you're going to have to look at free agency, but this team is also not like financially free. They have limitations money-wise. So I wonder if maybe they'll just stay quiet during free agency, maybe bring in Malik Willis to go with Halfley from Green Bay to Miami, and then like small rotational signings, and then just focus on the draft. That's kind of what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, they're $16 million in the hole to be specific. So let's see what they do. I'm curious. Someone's got to work hard to figure this out.
Yeah, you're going to have to they'll open up some money. They'll have to move some money around, and they'll get a couple free agents, but I think it's going to be a relatively quiet free agent period for the Dolphins.
Imagine having to be that guy, Metro. But we're just sitting in a chair. We're having fun just talking shit. So
100%.
It's all shit sweet over here. Very nice. Let's go to the Minnesota Vikings. Next up on the list. 9's at quarterbacks. Let's build around the guy. Do we get a wide receiver
trade
too?
him to Cincinnati.
Or trade him to Cincy if they just decide they want to sell the whole franchise. Cornerback, safety, secondary in particular. But I'm not feeling a certain type of way. I think this team's pretty stacked, but what do you think?
Center, interior defensive line, DB. With like a running back need, but you can fix that in like day 3. Or if Jeremiah Love falls to you, you take the pick. You don't think twice about it. But you can probably get a day 2 running back, so I don't think it's the biggest of need. But your center's retiring more than likely. Definitely want to fill that void. Interior defensive line, I just think they could get a little younger there. They got some older guys up there, and they got some decent depth there, but I would like to get a disruptor if they can. And then DB, just, outside corner, ideally somebody with some versatility. I don't hate Avion Terrell for this roster. It's because it's going to be a mid to late first. Avion, I think that's about the range I like for him. He's got some versatility to play inside and outside. Maybe even Colton Hood, I think, would be cool. So some options for sure. This is a Vikings team that's they're in a good spot. Their roster's good. The real question is going to be quarterback. And I'm serious, man. I'd be calling up Cincinnati. I'd be spamming them, dude. They'd have to decline my phone calls every day. So what's it going to be for Burrow? 6 first rounders or 4?
Name the price. I'll write it on this check. Any number you write, I will pay. I would too.
Yep.
I get it. They're $40 million in the hole. So what they do, they're under pressure. They're in a win now team, in my opinion. And their roster's super good. And I don't know how much flexibility they have. So Vikings, voice crack. Let's figure that out, Vikings fans. Let's see what. Yeah, man. I'm like half sick right now, so I sound like trash. Sorry, guys, for listening on the pod.
Flu game, Cade. Come on, man.
Dude, that's what I'm here for.
Everyone,
that's what I'm here for.
Hit the like and subscribe button for Cade. Do it.
A little pity party over here. Yeah, I'm crying. Now let's go to the New England Patriots. Edge, backer, front 7, anywhere that could bolster it, and a left tackle off the Super Bowl that we saw last night.
After the year that Will Campbell had, I think that's their biggest need. Boy.
Bad year to have that, in my opinion, unless you want to pay up.
Yeah, especially with where they're at. Man, I'll be honest with you. I could see Max Ahinachor making to the first round.
I get that. He's had a great year.
They have to figure it out, though. I think they need to have an open competition on that left side of the ball. Bring in some competition there. Loser plays guard. We did a mock draft, and I drafted Caden Proctor. We had the exact conversation. I was like, Proctor versus Will Campbell. Winner plays left tackle. Loser plays guard. That's what I do. Will Campbell was bad, man. He started off the year well, but back half the year, really after that injury, he was bad. Like you can make the argument he cost them the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not going to put it all squarely on his shoulders. Drake May was bad as well.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason why May was so bad was because he was looking over his shoulder at, Will Campbell and Jared Wilson the entire time. If that unit's better, maybe we don't have that issue. I think that's their biggest need. The left side of the offensive line, other than that defense was damn good this year. Maybe a receiver, like somebody that can get open, be a reliable weapon. Because, man, I was watching the Super Bowl. Those guys could not get open, right? Diggs has struggled. Booty was non-existent. Hunter Henry was quiet. Matt Collins made the best play for that team, and he got smothered on that play. He just made a nice catch. So, Omar Cooper, just throwing that name at you. I can see it. Jeremy Bernard, too.
Taking a look at left tackle scenarios, they could pay up for a guy like Rasheed Walker, a Cam Robinson. And then when it comes to the draft, you're looking at a Lomu in that range who might be there in the back of the first. And then you're also looking at, I haven't seen his film. Have you, Metro? Monroe Freeling? I've seen him on PFF fly off the board.
I've seen a couple games of him. He's a little lower on my board, but I would be okay taking him. By the way, the Patriots have $33 million in cap space. They can make a few restructures. They're in a good spot. They could realistically afford a Rasheed Walker to play left tackle and then kick Campbell inside, then kick Wilson to center. Like, it could be a simple fix like that. And again, like Lomu checks a lot of boxes too. Now, Lomu is a bit of a project, so you're taking a risk in a potential Super Bowl run. I would rather pay up for Rasheed Walker, give him $25 million a year, let him be our franchise left tackle for the next few years, kick Campbell to guard, and feel good about it. That's what I would do.
Had the money, y'all. There's poor people around. Let's go to the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints, man, they're on the up. They're not broke for once. They're only under $6 million, which is not bad in NFL standards. Everybody's in debt over here. So they're feeling good there. You could argue wide receiver. You could argue running back, taking Love at about, 10 this year? 9? 8. They're at 8. A lot of good options. If you get an edge rusher, one of that top tiers like David Bailey or, of course, Ruben Bain, that'd be an awesome pick as well. What do you think, though, Metro?
I'd say defensive line is a big-time need for them. If you lose Alontae Taylor, you're going to need a corner and interior offensive line would be my big three. Running back, receiver, for sure, right? For sure. But you're going to be in a spot where you're going to have a top receiver and Jeremiah Love on the board potentially with your pick. So maybe you just take one of those and feel good that you're supporting your young quarterback. But if you want to build in the trenches, I do think interior offensive line is a big-time need for them. A guard would be big for them. And defensive line could just use more talent. They got some bodies that you feel good about, but just a bit, of an influx of talent. They should have some money to work with, so they're in a good spot. Like, they can just kind of go best player available in a position of need in every single round, and they should be able to fix a couple of their holes. The Saints aren't contending for a title, so the good news is they don't have to be too aggressive. They can just be strategic in how they build this roster with young pieces to support their young quarterback with, and I think that'll be the thought process for this team.
Well said,
because
brother.
next year they have a ton of money, by the way, like over $100 million.
Exactly what I was going to get to. Like on the surface, you hear 600, you're like they're poor, but you look at 2027, they haven't spent much of their money at all. They got 150 mil just waiting for them in that back pocket. So keep a lookout for the Saints this year in free agency. Next up, we got the New York Giants. Woo, you got your quarterback in Darty Party. You got your new head coach in John Harbaugh. What do you think he does here, Metro? What are their needs?
For the Giants, interior offensive line, corner, and wide receiver 2 would be the ones that I'd be looking at here. When Neighbors went down, you relied a lot on Wan'Dale Robinson. He's probably going to get paid too much to bring him back, so you got to replace him. Corner, Deontay Banks was a fail. He just has not been good. You brought in who they bring in? They brought in somebody in free agency last year who was okay, but you could still find upgrades. And, especially if you lose Jermaine Illuminor, you're going to need more offensive line help. So I think those are all big-time needs. But the good news is they got a lot of money and they got some draft picks to work with, so they're in a good spot.
They do. Well said, man. Giants, it'll be interesting where they go. It'll be defining of their culture. Next up, we got the Jets. They have so much draft capital this year, and when it comes to money, they got $83 million in the bank, top 4 in cap space. So the possibilities are endless. Just what do they want to do? Metro, where should they use those assets?
Quarterback. Got to figure that out. That's a big-time need. Damn, is there a position on the defense they don't need? I think they need all of them.
Yeah, they can use anything.
I mean, they don't really need an edge rusher like badly, but they could use one. So my 3 positions, quarterback, defense, and wide receiver. I'm putting all of it on defense. I mean, they have talent on defense for sure, but like they don't have a position that you feel like, yeah, we got everybody we need in that room. Like, no, corner, they need 1 or 2 bodies. Safety, they need a body or 2. Defensive line, they need 2 or 3 bodies. So, yeah, I'm just going to put all of defense there. But, again, you're right. They got a lot of money to work with, and they got 2 first-round picks, a couple seconds. They got a ton of picks in 2027, too. The Jets can be, like, they're not going to be good next year, but they can turn this thing around in a few years if they can hit on these picks and have a good free agency class. But they got to get the quarterback position figured out. And I wonder if this year there's going to be some urgency from Aaron Glenn to look at a quarterback because he might get fired this year if they're not good. If they don't have a young quarterback to look at, it's tough because it's like, do you just want to pull the New York Giants and do Brian Dable, Jackson Dart again? I don't know, but I feel like if you are Aaron Glenn, like, what are your options? Do you go out there and rock with Mac Jones and see if he can work? I don't hate that.
I don't hate that either.
But if you are Aaron Glenn, whoever you bring in at quarterback, that quarterback could be in charge of whether or not you get fired. So you better make sure you get the right quarterback in the room.
Damn. I'm trembling. That sent shivers down my spine, Metro. That was... Yeah. You're not wrong, though. You're not wrong. If you're Aaron Glenn, my question for you, though, Metro. I hear a lot nowadays, whatever coaches are specialized in, whether an O coordinator before or a D coordinator before, people judge on how that side of the ball is doing. So, is there an argument with all their capital, they just bolster the defense? So Glenn's going, look, I'm doing my job. We'll figure out quarterback. What do you think? Do you think they lean quarterback or they lean defense? Because you can't pay everything.
No, you can't pay everything. It's tough because I can see it going one of 2 ways. I can see them spending a lot of money on free agency to bring in a quarterback and then kind of spending the rest to shore up the defense a little bit, like making a play for Daniel Jones, making a play for Malik Willis, making a trade for Mac Jones. So I can see that, or I can see the opposite where they invest all their money defensively and, a few offensive pieces here and there, and then invest at quarterback with like a Ty Simpson at pick 16. That's totally an option as well. So I'm interested, though. They got some options for sure.
Epic. Fire me up. Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. This team has got a ton of depth, but it's kind of chaotic in there. You could go out tackle for a long-term play. You could go edge, tight end, but Goddard's still doing his thing, so I don't know. It does feel inevitable that A.J. Brown may find a different home this offseason, so wide receiver is definitely on the market. But, Metro, anything you want to emphasize or anything you want to change up?
I would go edge rusher. That's a big need for them. They got to get somebody who can pair with Nolan. If they bring Jalen Phillips back, that's one option, but I still think you need another body there. Corner, CB2 next to Quignon and next to Coupe de Jean. And then fixing that right guard spot, I think, was a pretty big issue for them. They lost Mekhi Becton in free agency. Didn't really fill that hole this year. It was a bad interior offensive line. Honestly, the offensive line in general for Philadelphia just took a big step back. So, if they take a receiver or a tight end, I think that checks a box for sure. But I would like to see them really fix some of these massive holes they have. Because the roster's good. They just have a few big holes they got to fill. Guard, edge rusher, and corner. You fill those, it's right back to being in the conversation for a championship. So we'll see, man. I think for the draft, I would imagine that you spend it on a corner or an edge rusher with how the boards are going to fall for you. And then I think you fill guard in. Maybe just bring Mekhi Becton back because he's going to get cut from Los Angeles. Why not take a swing? He worked for you the first time. I think he could work the second time. And you could probably get him for cheap now, too, and, buy low on him and still probably end up maybe drafting or picking up another guard, too, just in case. So, no, the Eagles are, in a really solid spot for sure. I don't know what their financial situation looks like, but the Eagles, they always find a way. That's the good news.
The Eagles currently stand... Oh, they are doing just fine. They're sitting 20 over in 2026, so shit's sweet over there, man. They're going to be okay.
Sure. They always sort of backload the contracts, though, so it's not like they have a ton of long-term finances
Good
flexibility,
point.
but they should they'll be fine for if you pick up like Mackay for 1 year, $8 million. Like they can definitely do that.
Totally. Let's go to a team that has been laundering money. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. All right, let's talk about the most expensive defense in the league. What do they need? If Rodgers isn't here, a quarterback, a wide receiver would be nice to help out DK. Cornerback, O-tackle, what say you?
No, I think you got it. Quarterback, receiver, and left tackle would be my big three. You know, if the quarterback question's tough because I don't think McCarthy is going to attach himself with Rodgers again. Just feel like that would be treading the same waters. It just would make no sense to me. But Pittsburgh does a lot of weird things, so I could kind of see it. I think that they would be better suited just sticking with Will Howard for a year, seeing how that ship goes. If it sucks, it sucks. If it works, it works. That's awesome, right? Receiver, you got to get something next to DK Metcalf. I think DK
Bring
is
Pickens
fine.
back. Hell, why not?
Yeah, bring Pickens back, yeah. How about no? Maybe Wan'Dale Robinson. I like that fit a lot. I think Wan'Dale checks. Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Chris Bell, end of round 1. Yeah, I think those check boxes. And then when it comes to tackle, if you don't go with the receiver, maybe you take Proctor / Caleb Lomu. I could see that as well. Or maybe you spend big for a Braden Smith or Rasheed Walker in free agency. So they got some options. The biggest one, though, is that quarterback. What they do there is going to be fascinating. Again, I think it should just be Will Howard, personally.
I think so, too. It doesn't make sense to force anything, especially when you turn the page on a reset team. So I'm in the same boat as you. And actually, I was looking back at their money. I kind of flamed them for not having any money. They got plenty. They got 44 this year and then much more the following year. So good.
They got
Go ahead.
44. They got 44, but they actually have a pretty easy path to getting a lot more. If they cut Ramsey, which they could do pretty easily, it's a simple cut. That's like $20 million right there. You could make the decision to move off TJ Watt if you want to go full young. That's an option as well.
It is.
And there's another player, too, they can move off of to get some money. So they can open up Patrick Queen. You cut him, you're saving a lot of money. So the Steelers are actually in a decent financial spot. Question is just going to be like, do you want to cut those guys? Those are good football players, but they're all 30 years or just not as good as what they used to be. So we'll see. The Steelers have to make a decision on what they want to do. Do you want to build towards the future, or do you want to continue to try and contend with this mediocre roster? So we'll see.
The question is old as time. Let's go to the San Francisco 49ers. To give you a situation on their cap, they have money next year. But overall, their contracts go far down the line. They're last in 2028. They're last in 2027. So they got 42 this year, but there's not much right behind it. They need wide receiver, tackle, a lot of depth overall. They've just been coaching their ass off down there. What do you think, though, Metro?
Their biggest need is to stay healthy. That's what I'll say. Stay healthy.
That's
you
right.
can put together a really good football team. Assuming there is a health, if they can stay healthy, you need a receiver. You need another edge rusher and maybe a future tackle, something on the offensive line to build for the future, because you're getting rid of Ayuk this offseason, whether it's a cut or a trade. Juwan Jennings, a free agent. What do you do with him long term? I think he probably leaves. I could see that happening. So it's Ricky Pearsall and who else? Maybe Kendrick Bourne for another year. So you need that. Kittle also tore his Achilles, so I think Kenyon Sadiq's in play, if I'm being honest with you, but I wouldn't say that's their biggest of need. They have some other guys. And then edge rusher, you invested in Micah Williams, but Micah is never going to be an elite pass rusher. He's just never going to be that. And you would, in an ideal world, you compare a good pass rusher next to Nick Bosa, especially with Bosa coming off an injury. So I think those are their big needs. And what pick they have, like 24, 25, something like that. So
27.
I think 27. So I think you just go best player available in one of those positions: tackle, edge rusher, or receiver. Right? If a receiver falls into your lap, you take him. If a guard falls into your lap, you take him. If a corner, honestly, I feel like San Francisco's built good enough to where they can kind of just go with whatever they want.
Yeah.
But if somebody good falls in one of those positions of need, you can just snag them up and feel good about them.
I'd have to agree. And based off the coaching this year and, of course, the past couple of years, whatever the coaches want, man, go draft that dude, no questions asked, because they know what they're doing down there in San Fran. Let's go to the Super Bowl Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
They sit here. Oh, man. Let's go, Seahawks. Good stuff. They go into 2026 with $73 million. The last pick in the Super Bowl, in the NFL draft, but they have a pick, keyword, very important, not always the case. And their money down the line, also pretty solid. So this team's young, got money and capital. The sky's the limit, Metro. Who do you want this team taking this year?
It's tough, man. They're going to bring Kenneth Walker back. He just won Super Bowl MVP, so you're going to bring him back. That's pretty clear.
That's a great question. Are you confident there? Because I feel like he's going to ask for a lot of money. I met the guy, very humble. You saw him on TV, very nice man. But I think he's going to get paid.
He will, but they got $70 million to work with. They can afford him.
Good point. You make great points, Metro. That's why you're the best in the business.
I'd be surprised they let him go. He just won Super Bowl MVP. If they let a Super Bowl MVP leave, that would be bad PR, man. It'd be bad PR. This is a good PR team. You don't got to worry about that. Maybe an interior offensive lineman. Bradford, he got better as the year went on, but I still think you can upgrade that room. And they have two corners hitting the open market, Enrique Woolen and Josh Jobe, so you're going to have to replace probably at least one of them. So those are your big-time needs, but outside of that, they're going to be right back at the mix next year. It's the same team, basically, minus a few pieces, but they got the money to replace them. They have their draft assets. The Seahawks team, man, they're so well put together. The only thing that could hurt them is if Sam Darnold demands more money. Like, that'd be the only thing, and I don't perceive Darnold as somebody that's going to sit there and sit out for a larger contract. Although I would if I was him. Brody, get your bag. Make that a little extra $10 million, but I don't think he's going to do it. So, yeah, man, Seattle's in a good spot. I don't think they have a ton of needs.
I'm with you, man. I think Darnold, maybe he gets extended a year or two, but I don't think he's going to be asking for a restructure to get paid more because I kind of the same way I don't want to make this confident anyway, but the same way Tom Brady understood if we have an extra $20 million for the team goes with a Super Bowl. So never hurts, and he got a taste of it, so they're going to keep rolling there in Seattle. 3 teams left. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are up next. This team has questions to say the least. Their coaching is questionable. Let's take a look at their money situation. They currently stand. They're 23 over the cap this year, and then going forward, they're right in the middle of the pack. So they're good on money. They're fine on capital. Metro, what does this team need?
Linebacker and pass rusher would be the top 2, and then the third one, maybe an offensive lineman, like a guard maybe. I think that would make some sense. They say tight end, like people say tight end a lot. Like Cade Otton is okay. I just don't feel like that's like a pressing need. I feel like you have to get a pass rusher and a linebacker. Somebody younger, somebody with more juice, because they invested a lot in the back end last year with Parrish and Morrison. So I expect them to spend their first and second round pick on a pass rusher and a linebacker and retool that room. The good news for them is it's a deep class in both those classes. So they should have the cap, they should have the flexibility, and you said you have 23 as well. You can restructure a deal or two to add a corner or something like that. And they got some free agents they're going to have to bring back, but they will need to address edge and linebacker. And if they can address those and Baker returns to form, they should be pretty good next year. They can get right back on top of the division, but the caveat is that Baker has to play better.
Well said. At pick 15 in the draft, they can pretty much get the top of every position that they want except for, I'd say, edge. Of course, you're going to miss out on the cornerback 1, maybe the linebacker 1 in Arvo Reese, but pretty good spot to be in for the draft.
Best case scenario, you get Sonny Styles or one of Bain, Bailey, or Arvell. It's probably not going to happen. Sick. I don't want to get their hopes up, but you're hoping that one of those 4 fall to you, because if that's the case, you're in a good spot.
It'd be epic. Let's go to a team with some hope in the building. They got a good hire in the coach room. Tennessee Titans, that was weird English. The Tennessee Titans get coach Robert Saleh and new org coordinator from the Giants, Brian Daboll. Looking good, man. Looking good. Needs everything under the sun besides quarterback, but what do you think?
Yeah. Interior defensive line is the one room you feel really good about because you have Tavondre and Jeffrey. But if I were to pick their big 3, I'd go receiver, I would go edge rusher and corner. Because L'Jarius Sneed is hot ass at this point, which is crazy. He was so good in Kansas City, but he was so bad
It's
for
nuts
Tennessee.
how that happens, man.
Maybe he could work with Salah. Maybe Salah can figure it out with him. Maybe, but I don't know. It's tough. They might just cut him because of the money situation. But
They have $104 million, which is nice. Most in the league next year.
Okay, so they got some cap to work with. I wonder if they would just keep Snead and see if he can work it out with Robert. But yeah, receiver like Calvin Ridley's okay. Maybe you cut him, maybe you keep him. I don't know, but they are in a position where they could take Tate, Tyson, whoever they want. The nice thing is they have a top pick in round 1, round 2, so they're going to be able to pick kind of the pick of the litter for what they want. And then in the offseason, I would prioritize I think I'd prioritize fixing the offensive line and maybe adding a running back, maybe adding a safety or something like that. So they have some work to do, but I do like the coaching staff and I like Cam Ward. So at least you have those two things going your way. At least you think.
I'm with you. With your money, get known players to help Cam Ward make that work, and then on defense through the draft, make your thing happen. Let your coach take his players. Washington Commanders, final team here on the list. Let's take a look at the money situation for the Commanders. They got $76 million this year, following in 27. They got 173. So the money machine's actually not that bad. Obviously, they're going to be paying Jaden here pretty soon, but that's not quite the time yet. Aside from that, they need to address as much as they can on the defense specifically with that money and get some youth in the building. Edge, linebacker. What do you think, though?
They got to get younger. I would go edge. I mean, there's not a defensive position they don't need right now. But if I was to say their pressing issues, I would go with a pass rusher, a lockdown corner, and honestly, a receiver for Jaden would be nice next to McLaurin. Because when McLaurin's not out there, there's nothing really for him.
It's true.
And their tight end is probably going to retire too. So the one reliable guy in Zach Ertz probably gone. I mean, maybe you bring back Debo, but I don't know if Debo's all this and that anymore. I would go best player available with our first round pick, no matter the position. Maybe it's Caleb Downs, maybe it's a pass rusher, maybe it's Sonny Styles if you think he's the best. I think that's what you do. And then I think you play it aggressively in the free agent market to get younger and really buy into some ammunition in terms of depth. They have to find role players who can play a role for this team, guys that are not expecting to be starters, but if a starter goes down, they'll be ready to roll. That's what this team needs to do. So it was a disappointing year for them, and a lot of that came down to them being older and them getting injured. So then this year, it's all about getting younger and hitting on these big-time needs because they got a lot of them.
Metro, I never thought about this before, but the Commanders hit it 7th in the NFL draft. We a lot of times just auto-assign them Caleb Downs, because it's an excellent pick. Mm-hmm. There's probably a bigger scenario where they get a big-time wide receiver there, and a Mekhi Lemon, and a Carnell Tate, and a tight like that could happen. I don't think we've run that scenario yet. What do you think, though? Do you disagree?
No, I think anything's in play at that 7th pick. If it's Downs, sure. If it's Bailey, sure. If it's a receiver, yeah. Like, there's not a bad pick they can take unless they took, like,
an old head like Akeem Mesidor. Then the whole team's going to bunko night after that, man. They're all going to bingo on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, Akeem Mesidor, which would be insane. I was thinking, like, Peter Woods maybe would be kind of disappointing. That would be like, really? Peter Woods? You're going to prioritize that? But I don't know. They're in a position at 7 where it's like, as long as they don't venture too off the path, they should be good. I think the one pick that would be like, oh, really, would be like Jeremiah Love, which they need a running back. But like if they took Jeremiah Love, I'd be like, oh, I don't like that pick at all. That would be very suspect. But no, I don't see them doing that. I think they have a good, generally speaking, a decent front office that knows how to build a roster. They did a good job the first year. This year, they just got unlucky with the injury bug, and they committed too much to being old, and I think now they're going to overcorrect, and as they should, by getting a lot younger. So we'll see. We will see.
Metro, this is a fun exercise. We learned through all these teams who can truly learn or grow the most, and who's pretty much a stacked team like Seattle, obviously. It's been fun. Appreciate you, man. all you NFL draft fans out there, we're on the way to 2K, and it starts with you. We're halfway there at 1.5K, thanks to y'all. NFL drafts are around the corner. The Combine's in a couple of weeks. It's going to be fun. Go subscribe down below and stick around. We appreciate you guys watching more than you know. Drop a like. Thank you for watching the video. And Metro, get us out of here, man.
Hit that like and subscribe button, guys. We love you guys. Peace out.